Good afternoon, folks. Bill Sorensen here again with some personal and private opinions, perceptions, and comments on a question that was asked to me by a good friend from the West Stanley District. Uh, the following comments are mine and mine alone. They do not represent any entity, political or government. It's just my perceptions and what I see and what I know. I was asked this morning about what was phase one that we voted on at the Stanley County Schools Board meeting yesterday. I'm sharing my perspective, my perceptions, etc. But keep in mind that this is a complicated issue, and there's no easy, simple, this is what you do, this is how you do a thing. Good morning. Phase one is a plan to hire an architectural firm to study the buildings in the western end for all kinds of facets, from plumbing and electrical to structural integrity to ADA compliance. That's American Disabilities Act for those that don't know it. It is a preface to applying for a needs-based grant in August to get money for construction or renovation. So phase one in and of itself is not a bad thing. We're trying to get a grant from the state to offset some renovation and perhaps new construction costs to the Stanley County taxpayers. Comes with a hook. Anything from the state comes with a hook. If we get a grant, the county has to match 5%. So you're still talking millions of dollars if we're talking new construction. Anyway, I actually support such a study, but not as a premise for phase two. Phase two was not voted on. We ain't there yet. You do things one step at a time. But phase two is not voted on, but is a similar study of our 4 traditional high schools with consolidation the ultimate goal. Here's where it gets so dicey. I've made my feelings on community schools, public, I don't know, 6,000 times or whatever. I'm against consolidating, sort of. My opinions, my data, my research says it's bad for the kids, bad for academics, bad for discipline. But I work for the voters of Stanley County. So if we do the legwork and find out that that's what the voters want, I will get behind it 1,000%. I work for you. Now, my heart's always going to be with the kids first. But if you didn't want me to be that way, you probably shouldn't have put me in office. Anyway, all right, so phase two. Again, I don't oppose consolidation, but the county commission has made it crystal clear they will not support any such moves without hearing from the public via forums and or town halls. Now, I battle the county commissioners quite a bit about money. You know, we are ranked 105 and 106 out of 115 systems in the state for local funding, and we can do so much better. But on this point, they're not wrong, in my opinion. We can hear things. I hear things from the public all the time. But my limited worldview, my limited perspective, what I hear from, who I hear from, it ain't the bulk of the citizens of the county. Everybody's got their own opinions, and we need to hear that. So I'm gonna agree with the commissioners on that. So the grant application must be endorsed by the commission. So we can go through all these moves, all these steps, and spend a bunch of money, and they can say no. And as of, I think it was yesterday, I saw some correspondence saying they're going to say no till we get the public's input. And if I'm misreading what that thing said, let me know. But it's pretty direct and straight to it. Okay, in my opinion, we voted to spend $103,000 for the grant application study on a grant the commissioners will not allow to be forwarded to the state. I am not finger pointing. We have to go through these processes. And it was actually less than $97,000, but I insisted, and some others mentioned Ridgecrest, because Ridgecrest wasn't in the initial contract. I think we got to make the best use of what we have, so we got that involved. I'm back to my response to this lady. I am not finger pointing at the commission. It's my opinion they don't want to face the electorate over consolidation without the public having said their opinion from the start. Again, I agree. Frankly, I do believe our commission is unwilling to properly fund us in other ways, and this fuss gives them a reason to say no. We are ranked 106 in 115 systems. They are okay with that, in my opinion, because to address it would require a smaller property tax reduction. Here's something people don't really have a good handle on. It confused me at first too, but being a tightwad and a taxpayer, you better know I understand it now. They are okay with that because to address the terrible rankings we have would require a smaller property tax reduction. We just went through a reevaluation process in Stanley County, and the value of my home went up 40%. Now, we live in a modest little farmhouse, but I know some folks in this county, their valuations went up worse than that. 40%. Come on, man. I'm on fixed income and a pension, a little bit of investments comes into the month. So I pay attention to that. But here's what the county commission has decided. And this is what they've decided the last several times. They're going to keep our tax rate, our property tax rate, revenue neutral. What's that mean? They lower the property tax rate per $100 to keep you from having to pay any more property taxes at all. And they are the keepers of the coin, so I get that. But I cannot justify in my heart 106 out of 115 systems. We know we can do better. Okay, so that's the whole rigmarole on that. Finally, I put sounds great, but it means the schools are once again getting funded horribly at the local level. Sorry for this dissertation. I tend to talk too much, by the way, but it's a complex political and logistical move. Let me point this out real quick before I get off this soapbox. I do not hold feelings of animus towards anybody on the county commission. Several of them are actually friends of mine, people I respect greatly. I won't identify them to keep them from being associated with me, but there's former students, the former teachers, people I graduated high school with or went to school with. And there's not a person on that commission I don't have utmost respect professionally. My job is to stand up and fight for the kids. I'm going to do that. By that same token, on my Board of Education, my colleagues, I love those people. Now, I don't always agree with them, as you can tell from my voting record. I don't always like what they say, and they don't always like what I say. But isn't that how the democratic process is supposed to work? If you guys wanted a lockstep, always votes the same, always agrees group, we could get by with like 4 or 3 or 2 or just one board member. So the system seems a little out of sorts, and it is. There's basically polarization on these issues, but those are good people I work with. They're not on that board to get rich. I laugh when I think about what we make on that school board. Did the math. Now keep in mind, we all know what we're coming into when we come into it. Did the math. I could work 10 hours a month. 10 hours a month at Walmart or Ingles or whatever, just 10 hours a month and make more money than we do on the school board. So it ain't about the money. Those folks genuinely, all 7, in my heart and my mind, genuinely want to do what's best for the kids. It's just my perspective is you don't do for one school feeder area without doing for the others. And I actually believe this is the bottom line for my positions. My personal positions, don't hold this against anybody else. We need to look at Oakboro. Oakboro's there's some issues out there that frighten me. Okay, we are over capacity at West Middle. There's nothing we can do about that without spending construction money. That's capital money. Those 2 things have to be looked at. But we also have to balance the needs that we have, pretty critical needs, with what's best for the taxpayers in this county. We got a lot of folks in this county like myself that are fixed income, Social Security type people, and small pensions, and they can't absorb huge tax increases. So that's why this is such a complicated thing. So bring it all back around. Phase 1, not a bad idea. I just don't think it's going anywhere based on what the commissioners told us through a letter or an email. And the more important part is I do not dislike or hold ill will towards anybody. I'm just fighting for them kids in all 4 corners of this county. That's who I am. That's what I do. I appreciate anybody that sat through this whole 9.5-minute narrative or rant or rave. But God bless all of you, and I pray that we all come together and make the best decisions for our kids. The children deserve it. Thank you.